Hey babe, guess what the next project is? A raised garden bed. Please, I really want one for the summer.
Maybe.
Babe, can you make me a garden bed? Please? Please? How is today? Today's a good day. It's nice and shiny outside.
I bet.
Babe. Babe, what about my garden bed?
What? Stop.
Babe.
Stop.
Babe.
Stop.
What? I want my garden bed. Are you ready to do my garden bed?
No, not right now.
What do you mean not right now?
Stop.
Today's a great day.
Stop. You're recording?
Welcome everybody. We are excited to share this beautiful raised garden bed with you that my husband and I built as a fun DIY project. So join us as we explain how we built this raised bed and some tips and tricks we learned along the way. So let's get started here on the Ohana Life project. Let's start off with our wood. For the 4 sides and bottom slats of our garden bed, we used 11 pieces of 1x6 cedar picket fences. We chose cedar because it is highly resistant to bugs and rotting. For the legs of the bed, we used 2 2x4s of Douglas fir. For the slats at the bottom, we used 2 2x2 strip boards and a 1x1 furring strip to keep the box from bowing outward. That's this thingy here. We bought 1 rough grade of sandpaper and 1 smooth grade. These worked great with our sander. A landscaper had recommended we use teak or tung oil since it is a natural wood stain. However, he recommended it would take about a week for the stain to dry. We really didn't want to wait that long, so we opted for this dual stain and sealer for our wood, since none of the wood we were going to be staining was going to come in contact with our veggies. We also purchased a fancy brush to stain our wood and a foam brush for the red painted legs. We didn't need a whole gallon of paint, but for $9 it was a steal. Plus we have more projects in mind for that paint. Thank you, person who left this paint behind. A dual hole pocket jig would have been best, but that was a problem for the hubby, not me. And we got 2-inch screws. Off to work my husband went. I stepped in from time to time to say hello. Some would call it micromanaging, some call it love. First task was measuring. We measured and cut the 2x4s to make up our 4 legs. We cut the 1x6 cedar wood for the outside and the bottom slats of the garden bed. We had set dimensions for our box before going to the hardware store, but that all changed once we got there due to our attempt to save money. Many would say, make the box as big as your heart desires. Hopefully time, space, gravity, bank account, and inexperience might steer you to KISS. Keep it simple, stupid, which it really did for us. Our box came out to be 3 feet tall, 3 feet 9 inches long, and about 2 feet wide, and it fits just perfectly where we put it. The lattice we added on the back adds an additional 2 feet to the height. My husband would like for me to add that while the single pocket jig got the job done, having the dual jig would have been a lot nicer. I would also like to add that it would be nicer if my husband didn't whine so much, but I digress. Husband proceeded to continue to complain and said that eyeballing the distance of the holes would be more than fine. I say it's lazy craftsmanship, but what can I say? I love the man. Ended up looking pretty neat. After sanding all the pieces that were going to go on the outside of the box and skip sanding and staining the ones at the bottom of the bed, since no one but Maggie would notice the difference. Once all the sanding was completed, we stained and painted all of our outside pieces. We did about 3 coats on the wood stain and 3 coats for our red paint. Luckily, summer started here in sunny California, so having that bright sun made drying all the coats a whole lot faster, especially for the stain that took a while to dry. Now that all of that was done, we proceeded with screwing everything together. We screwed the boards an inch off by using another board underneath to keep it aligned. The pocket hole screws work themselves in pretty easily. I told my husband it would be a great idea to screw everything together on the floor, but he insisted. I'll just pretend like there wasn't a crucial error made here on his part. Let's see if you spot it. Well, now that was fixed, we set the middle strip to keep all the side planks all squeezed in together nicely and sturdy by using wood screws and a bit of wood glue. Next, we installed the rails that would give support to the bottom plank or slats. We aligned the rails at a bit of an angle to create a bit of a drainage system so water would travel to the middle of the garden bed where we will be leaving a reasonable gap glue. We used an additional 1x2 scrap of wood that we had from an old bed box frame, which came in handy to cover the gaps the planks missed. Screwed in the wood, and ta-da! Our box was made. Then came phase 2. We lined up the bottom of our garden box with chicken wire to help retain some of the soil. We stapled it straight into the box and the planks. Next, we used a slightly thick painter's plastic cover. Made sure every area was covered and used the staple gun to keep in place. We didn't use landscaping plastic because we couldn't find any at our local hardware store. We then cut off the excess plastic off and poked holes in the middle of the bed. 1, to get most of the water to drain through the middle, and 2, so that we have some to pass the irrigation system through. In goes the soil/fertilizers. We would like to tell you in the depth detail that we went into picking out the right type of soil/fertilizer, but we primarily went with our gut and bank account on this one. Since we had to purchase about 200 pounds of soil, had we tapped into our math skills and figured out the area and amount needed to fill such an area, we would have saved a trip to Home Depot. But no worries, we still needed a lattice, and my husband said he needed a break from me, whatever that means. The lattice he purchased was made of vinyl and was rather easy to cut down to the size we wanted. He painted the lattice using the same red paint we used for the legs. As they say, hindsight is 20/20. Apparently vinyl and acrylic don't mix too well. Good thing we bought a gallon of worth of paint. My husband can repaint it if it's needed. Yeah, okay. So we dumped out most of the soil into the raised bed and ran some irrigation tubing through the middle and bottom of the garden bed. Then dumped out the rest of the soil, leaving our irrigation system a bit incomplete due to the fact that I was still unsure as to what I really wanted to plant. We connected the 4-way manifolds to 1/4-inch tubing from our sprinkler system right below our new garden bed. Shot 4 tubes through the bottom of the garden bed and left them idle. We then went out to visit one of our local amazing nurseries in town. We bought what we wanted and proceeded to plant our garden. We connected these T adapters to the tubes coming from the manifold so we could add and create additional sprinkler heads. He attached tubing to the T adapter, which he then connected to the full pattern on stake inline bubblers, which allowed an additional sprinkler, which he then created out of another T, a loose bubbler head and a stopper. This technique allowed us to create the 9 sprinkler heads we needed to cover all the plants and herbs in the garden. Our raised garden bed is now complete. We can't wait to have fresh herbs and veggies. Listen, in no way are we any sort of experts, which I'm sure you may have been able to tell by some of our faux pas. We just love our house and have many great ideas to help make it as functional and as pretty as we'd like it to be. After 1 week of planting all of our vegetables, this is how they are doing. We had planted basil and our herbs in the front. So we have basil here, thyme, parsley, oregano. This San Marzano tomato over here was kind of struggling a little bit when we first planted it. What I learned was a lot of people have this old tradition of taking a raw egg, a whole egg, planting it in the ground underneath their tomatoes. What it does is it's considered direct composting. So the calcium from the egg and everything will break down into the soil and into the roots over time. So I did that with this tomato and it's been doing really well. I haven't done it with these two, but I want to see how that turns out over the summer. If you guys have any feedback or you'd like to see more videos of this, please comment, subscribe, and like down below. And click that bell and stay tuned for our next videos. We have some interesting ones that are coming up that we're very excited to share with you here on the HANA Life Project.